สวัสดีค่ะ This is Sabai Talk, a podcast about Thai food, Thai culture, and Thai way of living. My name is Hong Thaimee, New York City chef, and the founder of Thaimee artisanal product lines for your kitchen.
And I'm Pailin, chef and YouTuber and creator of hotthaikitchen.com. So today I am extra excited about the topic because it's such a fun topic. I love talking about Thai street food. So to get us started, why don't we share our most memorable experience of street food in Thailand? So, Pihong, do you want to go first?
Well, let's just say that, there are plenty of them, right? But I have to say, when I was young, we took a family trip. Sometime we drove from Chiang Mai to Bangkok and we make a pit stop in Pitsanulok. And I always get excited and I find them very creative. Have you heard of Pak Bung Loi Fa? Or the, what you call, fly across the sky, red fired morning glory, right? But
So it's a morning glory stir fry that they throw across the street.
It's so awesome. And not only do they throw across the street from their food truck off the street, sometimes they get on a tricycle, bicycle, whatever that they do. It's just so fascinating. And I think like that's one of the most fun, vivid memory of my childhood in Thailand.
I've actually never seen that in person. And to be clear, for those of you who are wondering why they're throwing it, there's somebody on the other side of the street with a plate. And the whole trick is the cook will throw it from the wok, and then the other person is catching it with a plate on the other side of the street. And they catch it every time. It's pretty amazing. And Pak Bung Loi Fa, Pak Bung means morning glory or water spinach. And then Loi Fa means floating in the sky. It's really quite something.
Do they still do that these days?
You can Google it you can find a YouTube video of it. So just go, search for flying vegetable stir fry Thailand or something. There are videos online you can look at.
It's such a show and that was really fun. And I think like that keeps the spirit of street food. How about you? What's your fond memory of street food?
My most memorable street food experience is when I was a kid in elementary school in Hat Yai. And I feel like in the evening when my parents, after school anyway, there is this little evening market next to a grocery store. So there's a grocery store and then there's an open air market beside it. And it's a kind of market that doesn't sell vegetables and meat. It's just the kind of market that sells ready to eat food. So all street food, so different carts. So that's where I have so many fond memories of all sorts of favorite things from there. Two that I can think of is agar agar jelly, wun. And I have shared agar jelly recipes on my YouTube channel and they went totally viral, which totally surprised me. But agar jelly is one of the things that I absolutely loved from that market because like as a kid, they're like candies, they're like so colorful. They're all different flavors, but they're better than candies because they're not as sugary. And then the other thing that I love from there is a treat unique to Southern Thailand and might even be unique to Hat Yai. It's called Khanom Kho. And what it is, it's like kind of like mochi, but inside is stuffed with palm sugar, a tiny little one, like the size of a marble. Inside is stuffed with a piece of palm sugar that you chew and it becomes kind of crunchy and tossed in fresh grated coconut. I have never seen this anywhere outside of Hat Yai. And every time I Google it to try to find it, it all leads back to Hat Yai. So like I've never seen evidence of this thing anywhere outside of Hat Yai. So I'm like, oh my God, is it like a Hat Yai thing? Could be.
I've heard of Khanom Kho, but I had no idea it's from Hat Yai.
There are other kinds of Khanom Kho that's different.
Got it. But the one with the hidden palm sugar inside is from Hat Yai, you say?
I think so.
I have a funny story to share with that. Was that one night, now that I'm living in New York City, I crave chocolate chip cookies sometimes. Okay. That's my American lifestyle. And I ran out of chocolate chips. So guess what I did? I chopped up the palm sugar And I put that and it's so good. Like so good. You should try that.
That is brilliant.
You can do that on your show.
Brilliant.
And just credit me.
I will steal it. That is so brilliant. I'm going to try that.
Good. It's really good. That round caramelized flavor. Amazing.
Okay. All right. So let's first, before we dive deep into Thai street food, talk about what does street food actually mean? Because for most people, they're thinking of carts on the street. Maybe it's like a bicycle or just like a thing that somebody pushes around. But I feel like when you're in Thailand, the word street food means more than that. So what are some of food outlets that are not carts that you would consider also street food?
Well, like street food is part of our lifestyle. I think food is part of our Thai lifestyle, right? We have a quote in Thailand, เรื่องกินเรื่องใหญ่, meaning it's important. Eating is important.
Eating is a big deal.
It's a big deal. And because of that big deal, we can find food 24/7, right? From early in the dawn, lunch or late night even. But street food for me is pretty much, word by word, right? The food that's served off the street. It could be like the house or at the market. When I say the house, meaning that you just, open like a stall in front of your property and put a couple of tables out and then set some seats and serve off the street.
Yeah. And so you see a lot of places that they're not carts. So like they're in a building, but the front is completely open. Right.
For like outside of Thailand, it's probably like what would you call, like a sidewalk cafe almost.
Yeah, sidewalk cafe. Yeah. Except like here in North America, they're all enclosed because of the weather. So they have to be able to shut it off for winter. But in Thailand, because it's hot all the time, the front is always open. So there's like no front wall. So you see the food being cooked right here on the sidewalk, but they're in their property.
Mm-hmm.
And then the seating could be only inside or sometimes spills outside as well. And then these days, there are a lot of outdoor markets, like night markets, weekend markets, where they're not there all the time, but they're there at specific times of the week. And it's a designated area. They're not technically on the street, but they're in like a parking lot or something. And it's just a bunch of stalls that gather together for a specific time. Now, would you consider mall food courts street food?
I love it. Have no shame to accept that. I think it's so brilliant. Food? Yeah, it's a street food, meaning I think street food is like comfort food, right? Street food started with a low budget or almost none investment, right? Like I want to open something. I don't have much budget to get a card. I can just cook it from my kitchen. I put the table outside and put in some seats out, in front of my house, and I could create a little food stall for an extra income. And I think like that was the beginning of the sidewalk or the street food business.
Yeah, I agree with you. I feel like food court was an evolution of street food. They basically, when malls started to become a thing, they wanted to bring street food into the mall. And so it's like an indoor version of street food.
But
right?
Again, yes. And I think the street food, mainly, it is like my expertise, your expertise, next door expertise, the auntie next door expertise. And then they make a business out of that. So street food, not only that it's served on the food, but it's like a specialty because anybody can do, right? Anybody can do street food. Anybody can start a new business like tomorrow. And with that, they can, some of them become a billionaire from that.
Actually, that's a good point because that's one major difference between a restaurant and a street food vendor is a street food vendor will sell like one or two or maybe a few things. They won't have a menu with 35 things on it, but the restaurant will have multiple things. So street food vendors are specialists.
Restaurant is more like concept driven, right? But street food is like, I have the best recipe for grilled pork, and I'm just going to serve grilled pork with dipping and sticky rice.
And that's it.
And that's it.
There's nothing else on the menu. I just love how, like, when you go to a street food vendor, all you have to do is tell them how many you want. And that's it. Like, there's no ordering. It's just like, give me 5 of those. That's, and they're only selling one thing.
Awesome.
Okay.
Oh.
So I want to talk about what makes Thai street food so popular. Like, what is it about Thai street food that, like, foreigners from all over the world come here for that? But first, you found out a really interesting story that Thai street food was not always popular amongst foreigners. Do you want to share us that
Well,
story?
I mean, with this episode, I've done some research and I make some phone calls to very reputable sources. And one of them, I met him because I serve his office when I cook in Bahrain. And I call Ambassador. I really want to know more about street food. Why is it so popular? And he said, Kun Hong, it was not popular back in the 70s and 80s because the expat and the GI, they looked down upon how we serve it off the street. They raised the question, would it, clean enough? Is it sanitized? Like all that health issues, right? And then the 90 came, right? I mean, meaning 1990, the era that people started to travel more around the world. Backpacker can come into Thailand and don't have much budget, so they started to find, goodness me, the food off the street, not only that is delicious, it doesn't cost you tummy aches or food poisoning, but then they experience something new with such a budget. And that's how word of mouth started to go off, like, wow, come to Thailand and experience this. The most expensive thing is the plane ticket.
Yes.
you know?
I saw a meme on Instagram where they were saying, like, you spend thousands of dollars on a plane ticket to come have $1 pad thai in Thailand, and it's
Uh-huh.
worth it.
And and then when tourists, all this, like new wave of tourists, so-called backpackers that come to Thailand, then the economy started to evolve, right? And I mean, good things about Thai people, we very creative and very, very quick to make business happen. So, when Farang, right? Words for foreigners. When Farang come in, we make it fun. I think like that's how Khao San Road in Bangkok got started and become famous. Don't you think?
I think one of the charm of Thai street food that makes foreigners really fall in love with it is the chaos.
Organized
It's
chaos, I would say.
Yes, yes. It's like, it feels so chaotic. Like, there's no proper lineup. Like, things are just loud and noisy, and everything is kind of everywhere. But at the end of all that, you get your food and it's delicious.
It's
There's
so
nowhere
delicious.
there's nowhere to sit to eat it, but it's delicious.
And I think like that's the fun of it too, right? Like you risk your life. I mean, I'm not saying that risking your life is fun, but more like, eating off the street, like where else could you get that experience?
Exactly. And then I think you mentioned you love how it's like a free show
It
because you
is.
can see the food that's being made right in front of you.
And the sensation of it, the smell,
Mm-hmm. The smoke.
the smoke, and again, the organized chaos.
Mm-hmm. And what I personally love about street food is it unites all the different classes of Thailand. Like, if you go to Thailand, it'll be very obvious that there's a huge inequity in terms of wealth. The rich people are so incredibly rich and the poor are so poor, and they live in the same city, and it's so obvious. Like, you go into a fancy mall and you come out and there's poor people outside, but everyone eats street food. Rich people will eat the street food that costs $1 that is made by the poor people. Like, I feel like this is the thing that keeps everyone together.
Except the
in one
rich people
society.
would send their driver or their housekeepers to buy their food.
Yes, that's probably true. But I would say that even rich people, if they're walking around town, they just come off of their, like, shareholder meetings or whatever, and they're hungry, they would
They would.
go in and eat at a dingy like street side restaurants if
Mm-hmm.
the food is good, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't think there's one of those like, oh, like we don't go to those places. The street food is like the food of the people.
I agree. It's the
Mhm.
food of the people. I like that term. That's a good one.
So, one thing that I've thought a lot about when it comes to street food is why is street food such a big part of Thailand and like lots of Asian countries, but not really in North America? Like, why doesn't that exist here? What do you think?
I first thing first, I mean, food is a big deal, and I'm sure it's a big deal in every country, but especially Thailand is a huge deal, right?
I
and
would agree with that.
and the rules and regulations may be a little bit less strict, so you can pretty much have to, the right to just start your own.
Like, I think for one to start a food business here in Canada, the amount of bureaucracy, paperwork, certifications, and all sorts of things that you have to go through, and the cost associated with all that, insurance, food safety certification, and like you have to have like a proper place. It's prohibitive for people, right? So not everyone who has a good recipe for cornbread can just go and sell their cornbread on the side of the street. Like it's not possible. But in Thailand, we don't have that. If you have a good recipe for like, grilled pork skewers, you can just go and sell it anywhere in front of your house online, like nowadays online, right? Like people just have businesses on Instagram or whatever and people just order online. So the barrier of entry is so low.
Yes, very low, almost nothing. And I've heard of so many success story that they started just a stand right in front of their hometown, like a row house.
Yeah, it's like a townhouse,
Yeah,
but
like a
much
town.
less fancy than that.
Yeah, because when you say townhouse in New York City is, you
Yeah.
have to have money to live in a townhouse. But anyway, like off the street in Thailand, and now they work hard at it and they grow their recipe and they grow the business. It it's I love it. I love that inspirational story because I think that everybody have a, when you have a determination, you should, and that is,
Yeah.
yeah,
And
part of Thai culture.
it allows anyone to start, right? Like here,
Correct.
if you want to have a food business, like for some people, it's literally not possible. They don't have the cost, they don't have the means, they don't have the resources because all the cost is so high. So it eliminates so much talent from the pool. Whereas in Thailand, I think the talent has more opportunity to come through. And also, I think the weather is another big thing. Cause like in Thailand, you can be on the street 365 days of the year. But here, a little more challenging during the winter.
It's true. That's
Yeah.
very true for the tropical country like ours. It was, yeah, it is easier to serve off the street, but sometimes it can be extremely hot. But we know how to take care of ourselves.
Yeah. I feel like if it's hot, people just learn to figure out it's tolerable if you're used to it. But when it's cold, like it becomes a matter of safety. Like you can't actually just, be out and all the food will get cold instantly also.
Yeah, it's frozen right away.
Exactly. So, speaking of being on the street and all of this stuff, I want to talk about something very interesting that happened. I would say maybe 4 or 5 years ago, some very shocking headlines started making its way around the world. And I remember the day when I saw the headline and I was like, what? And the headline said something like Bangkok to ban street food. Okay, first of all, this is very sensationalized headline. We still have street food today. Obviously, that didn't happen, but it made the news because the headline was so extreme, like Bangkok to ban street food. People were freaking out and all of this stuff. And so I wanted to talk about it briefly in, going into more details about what that whole kerfuffle was all about and what is the outcome of that. So basically, the tension was as much as we love the chaos of street food, it does cause some issues. Okay. Main issues being it clutters the sidewalk and it becomes cleanliness and accessibility issues. So people who are in wheelchairs, who have trouble getting around, were complaining. that they can't get around because it's just so full of people. Not just the cart themselves, but the people that are gathering around these carts also take up space. So the government was trying to, and then the cleanliness is another thing. So there's problem with trash, with vendors not disposing of their food waste properly. Some of them were frying oil onto the streets and all of that stuff. So there was some of this happening. And so the city was trying to figure out, how do we deal with this? And I'm not saying that they came up with a great solution. And I think till this day, it's still a struggle to figure out a solution. But what they wanted to clean up wasn't like street food across the board. It was a street food that was operating in public spaces. Like literally, these are carts that just set up shop wherever, and these are public spaces, and they're not paying rent to anyone, right? And the other issue is, if they're not paying rent to anyone, guess who shows up?
Government.
The mafia.
Yeah,
the mafia.
Ooh.
If you're setting up shop, selling stuff on the sidewalk, hey, you don't have to pay anybody rent. Guess what? The mafia is going to show up and say, pay us rent or you get out of here. And so the government was trying to like, okay, if these people are going to be paying rent to somebody, can they pay rent to us? And then we can use that money to like provide a proper space for them to set up shop. So what they're trying to do is get rid of just random carts on public spaces and move them into more designated areas where it could be maintained properly by the government, because these people are, or privately, because these people are going to be paying rent to somebody, and that somebody is theoretically going to take care of the
When
facility.
you say this, is it only in Bangkok or across Thailand?
I think this is an issue that's mostly in Bangkok because it is the most crowded, but I probably other big cities around the country is doing a similar thing, but there's not as much news and media around it. So what I've noticed in the past year since this whole cleanup has been happening is there are more designated space for things like night markets and whatnot that have happened because people needed a place to go. So, I'm not taking any sides. I think it's definitely very difficult. And the people who were kicked out sometimes were kicked out without any options. You know what I mean? Like they were sending people around saying, you got to get out of here, and not giving them any like, okay, so where are we supposed to go now? Or the options that they were given didn't have any foot traffic. So it didn't work. So I think it's a hard issue to resolve, especially because there's so many vendors now. But that is sort of a nutshell of the drama of Thai street food cleanup.
You know what? As we were talking, there's something happened into my head. There's a street food expo. Have you heard?
No.
In Muang Thong Thani, like around the suburb of Bangkok, there's one food show that gather all the Khong Di, like all the goodies from, like markets and stuff, and make that into a street food expo. But I mean, that is just like, special events once in a while. But I agree, they have to have a way out that meet halfway, right? Like I think street food vendors should have right to excel and grow and thrive in their business, right? With the support. At the same time, the government should find, but again, land in Bangkok is so expensive. And then probably there's so many hoops they have to go through. And for a small vendor to go to the mall, you cannot do that much because you need some branding, right? And so, well, it's a small business issues that maybe we can put our heads together and come up with a solution to support.
Yeah. And I think it's a subject that the city of Bangkok is actively working on little by little. How slow or quick, I can't comment on that. But speaking of malls, I've noticed recently that inside malls, they're starting to have their versions of night markets inside a mall.
Yes.
Which is awesome. I think it's great.
You know why? Because mall in Thailand, it's a lifestyle of people, right? You have salon, you have a teaching school, you have music school, you have supermarket in a mall, because
the bank,
everything. You can basically live your life in the mall. And because it's so hot out, So all the family, right? Like think about it. It's for lifestyle. The dad can go do the thing. Mom can go, get her hair done while dropping the kids off at the ballet school. And when they're hungry, they just go eat food.
Yes. So I've noticed like this uh, proliferation of night market style areas in malls. Like it's not in the food court. There's no place to sit. Okay. It's just stalls selling stuff for you to take home, things on skewers. Like it's just fantastic. I love it so much. Okay. So let's talk something a little bit more delicious. What do you think, if people were to go to Thailand, is a must have street food that they should not miss?
This is the list. This could be a 2 days conversation. You know what? I think that I think that I would give a recommendation of where to go. Okay.
Okay.
For example, in Chiang Mai, my hometown, you go to the Lat Chang Phuoc, okay? And it's in every tour guide, city guide book.
Is there an English name?
No, because it's the name of a crossroad part of the district, Chang Phuoc,
Okay.
right?
Chang Phuoc Market.
Yeah, Chang Phuoc Market, but they do it now. Torung, meaning like it's a night market. And I have heard like there's this place called Suki Chang Phuoc. I ate it since I was in high school. All right. And now I have heard like they make great business. They even incorporate new technology while people waiting on the line. Everybody can book it through the apps. How cool is that? Okay. So that is in Chiang Mai. And then when you go to Bangkok, I love, 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 love Chinatown. Yawarat, okay? And all kind of store. You can get the steam bun, the fresh durian, and I like the kway chap. there's one store, the Chinese store called kway chap nam sai. Okay, I don't even know how to explain kway chap. It's
So
almost
kway
like
chap is a noodle soup.
Yeah,
but the noodles are rolled into like a cigarette.
Yeah.
And there are two types of kway chap, nam khon and nam sai. And the kind that you get in Yawarat, the kind that Chinatown is famous for, is the nam sai, meaning the broth is clear, but is extremely hot with white pepper. They put so much white pepper in it that it would shock you if you've never experienced
to me,
it.
that is so good with crispy pork belly, boiled eggs, and all the fried tofu in there. That's one of my fond memory. Yeah, I think mu ping, and of course you have to have the papaya salad.
Yes. So mu ping is something that I would also recommend. Although I have a little bit of about mu ping. So mu ping is barbecued pork skewers that you can find just about anywhere in Thailand. But I feel like recent years, the mu ping have changed. And I have noticed that instead of being pieces of pork skewered, they're now almost like ground pork patties that's skewered on. And it's like too soft, too tender, too sweet. I don't know. I don't like the new generation of mu ping. And they all now taste kind of the same. And I know it's because they actually all buy their mu ping from like a vendor. So like there's a major vendor that makes mu ping in like a factory. And then all the little street vendors go and take their mu ping from this place and they go set up a stall. Nothing wrong with that. But like, if this happens, then you go from stall to stall and they might taste exactly the same. And I just feel like mu ping when I was growing up was pieces of pork skewered. But now they've turned into like this mushy pork patties that I'm just not a fan.
Can you hear that I'm salivating again? Talking about this. I think that when you know exactly where to go, sometimes you get the big pieces, like the famous stall ones,
the old school
one. And I have heard of this new famous place in Bangkok that serve mu ping pa la. So they marinated the pork in a fermented fish sauce, blah la, from northeastern style. It's around Lumpini, I think. It's such a it's a place. Regardless, you can never go wrong. But yeah, a skewer, anything skewer,
anything on the skewer. One thing that I tell everyone who goes, it's a must have, And I don't care if you're vegan, gluten-free, everyone can have this thing. Khanom krok.
Yes.
Khanom krok is, for lack of better terms, they're usually referred to as coconut pancakes,
Yes.
but they're not really pancakes. Like if you think of the pancake, that is not what it is. So they're little cups, right? They're little rice flour batter mixed with coconut milk cooked in these little indented pans. So you end up with little like half sphere little cups of gooey coconut goodness inside. It is unbelievably good. And it's not something you can buy like outside of Thailand very easily. So like that's your chance.
Well, two things I'm going to say. Somehow, do you have Trader Joe's in Canada?
I knew this was coming up. No, we don't have Trader
I have
Joe's
heard
in
of
Canada.
that it basically became a sensational, like the must-have item, but I have not tasted it, so I cannot say that. Well, thanks for bringing that to America.
Yeah. So, yes. So, if you have Trader Joe's where you live, you may be able to find frozen khanom krok in your Trader Joe's. And I have heard from other Thai people that it's actually not bad. Like it's definitely good enough given that it's a frozen thing.
Another thing I want to add on to Khanom Krok is that the topping on the top. The original is the Chinese chive, right? The
Green
garlic
onions.
chive. But I
Garlic
love it
chives.
with
No, they're green onions.
no. There's sometimes we have
Really?
yes, and
I've
then there's
never seen that.
sometimes with corn, sweet corn, taros. I love the topping on Khanom Krok.
My favorite is green onions. When I was a kid,
and then we dip
didn't
it
have
in sugar.
That's a northern thing.
Really?
Yes.
And do
I
you
know.
serve that with in a banana cup?
Banana leaf,
Yeah.
like
Banana
type
cup, like
thing. Yes.
like and make a plate out of banana leaf.
But the dip in sugar thing is a northern thing. I know because I had never seen it before until I went to Chiang Mai. And then we bought Khanom Krok and it came with a little bag of sugar. And I was like so confused. And then my aunt who lives in Chiang Mai said, no, this is how they do it here. The Khanom Krok itself is not sweet. And you dip it in the sugar and that's how it gets the sweetness. But the Khanom Krok that I grew up with and the ones in Bangkok, it's sweet. The batter itself is sweet. So you wouldn't need to dip it in anything.
Huh. Hey,
Yeah.
but the grininess of the sugar in the mouth is really good. And that's why we're such sweet human beings from the north.
Yes.
Another thing is the satay. I think that's good. And you cannot go wrong with gui kak or the fried banana fritters.
Yes. Fried bananas in Thailand are something else completely. Here in North America, when you go to Thai restaurants, sometimes they have like fried bananas on the dessert menu, but it's not usually what it is. Like it's like regular American bananas dipped in the tempura batter and fried, served with ice cream. That is nothing like the fried bananas in Thailand. Fried bananas in Thailand are made from a specific kind of bananas called Goi Nam Wa, which is very firm. They're closer to plantain, I would say, because they're used when they're underripe. So you wouldn't use like super ripe bananas for this. They're dipped in a batter with sesame seeds and all of this stuff and fried until super crunchy. And because the bananas are underripe, it's not like a sweet, soft thing. Like it's firm, a little bit sweet, and the thing is crunchy. It's more like a snack than it is a dessert. And it's a totally different experience. You absolutely,
It's so crunchy that sometimes people ask for more at the stall. Like they would just buy the extra crumbs.
Oh, yeah.
Of the banana.
The fried bits that are floating in the oil. Yeah. It's so good. Okay, let's talk some street food etiquette because I think this is important for people going to Thailand. Paying for street food, usually you would do cash. But I would say that nowadays, Thai people are so tech savvy that you can pay with all sorts of apps on your phone.
What kind of apps that people use in Thailand? Do you like just say?
I don't know.
Like an American tourist or a Canadian tourist or wherever, foreigners, tourists, international tourists. What kind of app do they have to have? You don't know.
I don't think if you're a foreigner, I don't think you should bother with the apps. Just have cash. But you will notice these days that like vendors will have like a QR code.
Mhm.
And then I think it's just the bank's app. And then you can scan the QR code and like it transfers money from your account to their account, which is very scary in terms of security. But anyway, so that's what you'll see Thai people do. But I don't think you should bother setting it up. Just have cash. Cash is still widely accepted here. And you don't need to tip street food vendor. I mean, you can if you want to, but it's totally not expected. And they would probably try to give the money back to you and thought that you gave them too much money. Okay, I want to talk about safety now, like etiquette in terms of street food safety, because one thing people are always nervous about is what if I get sick? Like, what kind of food should I eat and I don't get sick? Do you have any tips for our friends who might be going to Thailand and don't want to ruin their trip with stomach issues?
Well, try not to drink the water from the unknown source. Meaning, if you want to have water, juice it with a new bottle and you open the
Mhm.
bottle yourself. At least that
Mhm.
helps. Carry the what you call that a wet pad, right? A wipe,
Like sanitizing
sanitized
wipes.
wipes. Yeah, that is a very helpful tactic
And
to
what I
do.
would use the wipes for is actually on utensils as well. If you're not sure about
Mhm.
the utensils, you can sanitize your utensils
Mhm.
first.
But you know what? We don't want to scare you with that because most of the time, street food in Thailand it's like freshly cooked right in front of you. At
Yeah.
least that like it is much more safer
Yeah,
than.
it is definitely safer than people think. But I will give you, I think, a major tip is if you are not used to eating in Asia, don't eat cold foods right off the bat. Cold foods meaning papaya salad being sold on the side of the street, fruit carts, like you see carts with freshly chopped fruits. And the reason is when food is cooked, all the bacteria that can get you sick is killed in the wok, in the pan, in the grill, whatever, right? But if food is just being tossed together and it's cold, if it's contaminated, like it's not going to get decontaminated in the cooking process. And another thing, very, very important, do not eat the garnishes that come on your plate. Like if you order a thing of food and it comes with like a slice of tomato and a piece of lettuce, don't eat that. Okay, I know. I know during
It's
my
an
wedding.
order. Don't eat that.
Yeah, don't eat it. During my wedding, my husband took his groomsmen down to Krabi. They went for a rock climbing trip
Are you
down
sure
there.
it's not hangover?
I don't want to know what they actually did. And then they were at this restaurant and food came with, the lettuce and the cucumber and the tomatoes on the side of the plate. And they were like, dude, don't eat that. Like, that's, I don't know if they reuse it. Who knows, right? Like, and it's handled, it's not cooked. And the one guy was like, oh, you guys are sissies. I'm going to eat it. And he ate the tomato. And guess what? Next day, he was so sick.
Did he make it to the wedding?
So sick. He did make it to the wedding because this happened like far enough ahead of time. But yeah, like, so don't eat the garnishes. Okay.
What else do I want to say? I think, and pace yourself because sometimes when you go to a big market, everything looks so good, especially when they have that light hanging right on the top of the food. Everything looks so good, and pace yourself and just enjoy. I always say that because I think that uh, life is to live, right? Like you should have a good experience and meaning, live and learn. We can only say so much.
One thing I will add to the cold food is ice cream is okay. Like I don't
Yes,
worry about
especially
ice cream.
fresh coconut ice cream.
Yes.
So good.
Don't miss that. That's usually safe.
especially served in a container, coconut
Like
container,
the
right? Oh, so good.
or served in bread.
Oh yes.
Yes.
In
Like a hot dog bun
itim
type bread.
itim sandwich.
Yes, it's like an ice cream
Yeah.
sandwich. No, they just call it itim kanompang. It's just like bread ice cream.
So
So
fact, we say itim as an ice cream. I don't know how, the sound. How could we from ice cream to itim? We should look into that.
Yes, but itim in Thai means ice cream.
Yeah.
And So here, when you order ice cream, you can get like a cup or a cone, right? In Thailand, you can get a cup or a piece of bread. And I always go for the bread because once the bread starts to soak in some of the melted ice cream, it is so delicious. When I bring this up, a lot of people are so disgusted by it. And I'm
Why?
like, what is wrong with you people? It's like a piece of bread is not that far off in terms of ingredients from a cone, right? Like it's like flour, eggs, like it's the same type of stuff. It's just different forms. But some people, they're just like, oh my God, that's so disgusting. And I'm like, dude, come on. And also, we're not the only one who do it. The Italians also serve their gelato in brioche.
Mm-hmm.
That's also a thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. Some people are just not okay with the idea.
I mean, no.
I don't
I made it
understand.
once on a Food Network competition. It came out so good. And I think that,
Really?
yes, I think I made a Thai iced tea ice cream and served it with bread. And I won that competition.
Wow. Look at
Look,
all these cool things you've done. I've never
I think I
competed in.
have, yeah, I'm a type like I'm not, afraid to try anything. So when opportunity arises, I always try. That's why we create this show and create this podcast because I know, we have limited, 40 minutes an episode or something, but we would love to encourage you to learn more about Thai food and Thai culture. And street food is a must when you go to Thailand. And I'm so happy to see street food is part of the branding in restaurants these days. Chef loves that. Customers love that. Big investor loves that. And I think that it is something beautiful to see,
For sure. So that's it. That's all I have for today. Street food. Do you have anything to add?
And if you were to go to Thailand and you would love to have an amazing, amazing experience that I don't think you can find anywhere else, go to Talat Warorot, okay? It's the main market at night. And you would find this Khanom Jeen buffet
In Chiang Mai.
under the candles.
Mm.
So good.
That is so Talat Warorot is in Chiang Mai,
Yes.
not in Bangkok.
No.
And Khanom Jeen again is fermented rice vermicelli noodles.
Yeah.
It's sort of like our version of pasta where it can go with many different types of sauces. And what you're talking about is it's a buffet where there's like 10 different sauces.
Yep.
And then you can just go and top your noodles with any kind of sauce you want. Go back for as many times as you want.
Yep.
That sounds like
and
heaven.
that's like $3 a plate or less even. No, it cannot be $3. Probably $1 a plate. And under the candlelight, like you cannot find those kind of experience anywhere else. And I think that makes the food taste so good. And that's the beauty of street food.
For sure. Well, that's all for us today. Thank you, everyone, for listening again. And so if you want to get a hold of us, you can email us at sabaitalk@hongthaimee.com. You can find me at Hot Thai Kitchen on Instagram. My website is hotthaikitchen.com. And on YouTube, I'm at Pailin's Kitchen.
As for me, you can find me at Hong Thaimee all across the board. Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, and YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe on our YouTube channel. And I hope you enjoy our episode today. See you next week. สวัสดีค่ะ
สวัสดีค่ะ
This episode would not be possible without the wonderful support from my friends at Chef's Choice, who specializes in Thai ingredients. They are actually Thailand's first coconut milk factory and have been exporting to the US for almost 50 years. I am a fan of their coconut milk and curry paste, which I highly recommend to all of you. Thank you, Chef's Choice, for your support of Sabai Talk. ขอบคุณค่ะ